So your question is basically, can the Nationals get jump started back into this thing?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? If it starts with a series like against the Marlins, where at this point, they have so many prospects up, they're doing everything they can just to kind of figure out where they're heading for next season. That's a big series for them. They can make a difference here.
Anything is possible. I mean, if you look at, and I don't mean to be overly cliched about this, but
if we had a video stream right now, you'd see me tilt my head when you said that. Like,
anything's possible because, and I mean that because of the Mets' own history. They have choked a decent lead in September before, and so there's nothing to say that they can't do it again. But the vibe feels a lot different. It's like the Mets are just in a place where they're resilient, and they play really well against the Nationals, but they haven't really played very well against anybody else that's any good. And they lost a series to the Marlins before they swept the Nationals. So you tell me what this team is capable of, because I just don't know. I mean, there was a fantastic series, riding high. I was yelling obscenities at the TV, at Drew Storen, more specifically when Cespedes hit that shot out. My wife just kind of looked at me like, "Who is this man that I'm legally bound myself to?"
Yeah, no, she's all right with it. She knew what she was getting into, to be honest.
Well, one would think, but we haven't known each other since, and the Mets being good, so
okay.
she's never seen me like that.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that one. I know, I understand that whole aspect to it. The thing, at least with me, when it comes down to what's going on with the Nationals, I mean, you had Matt Williams was walking off. I mean, at least the fans waited until he was done with his press conference before they started booing him. But I mean, you're getting booed at your press conferences, and it's the whole mismanagement of the bullpen situation, and just for whatever reason, he just hasn't been able to get this club going. I mean. Strasburg, yeah, sure, he's been injured and kind of back and forth, you know what I mean, where his back has still been an issue. He's been dealing with that since the beginning of the month. But, when you look at the situation, Ryan Zimmerman has had a fantastic month, the whole, basically all of September and leading into the last couple of weeks of August. And this team is still finding ways to lose. While the Mets keep finding ways to win, and at least for me, it does come down to managing. I guess at that point, when you look at the situation, you have Bryce Harper, you have Ryan Zimmerman, that phenomenal pitching staff, and somehow you just keep managing to lose games. Somehow it's either lacking motivation, or maybe some responsibility and culpability for what you're doing out there. I mean, and that's kind of the way it pans out for me, and that's if you can't get together, and at least kind of be playing, at least, again, to sound cliche, put things on all cylinders, it's not going to roll. It's kind of back and forth between the offense and the pitching staff, and the bullpen is just been a wreck. When you look at what the bullpen did. This is just the other night. The bullpen through 6 1/3 inning, had a 6 1/3 innings, had a 14.21 ERA. Okay, and so everybody kind of had been knocking the fact that maybe they weren't resilient enough, or they didn't have the cojones to come up and step up in these big games and keep fighting. They've been fighting, to some degree, but when it comes down to it, the bullpen's been a huge flaw, and it just doesn't seem like Matt Williams is the guy to be able to manage it. And I don't think Mike Rizzo, he's not going to let this fly. There's going to be a lot of changes going on in this offseason. Obviously now with Ruben Amaro, he got dumped in Philadelphia. It's just one of those situations where, I don't know. I can't see any way other than out for Matt Williams, and I don't see this team pulling it together. The only thing that would maybe scare me a little bit about the Mets situation is trying to figure out what's going on with Matt Harvey. I know you wrote a good piece on 87sportsfans.com because I suck and I don't write as much as I should.
Wait, that would insinuate that you write it all.
Oh, I have. I've done it before.
There's evidence, physical evidence somewhere. Yes, I would.
Yes. No, you can Google it and you can find it if you tie the two names together. But no. Honestly, I mean, you obviously have a huge inside look into this whole deal. But his last couple starts have sucked. I mean, I don't know if you'd say he's reaching Richie Hebner status to this point.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, he's definitely pissing some people off. I mean, you can't deny that. And then hearing kind of some of the soft talk, and then it comes out with an article on the Players Tribune. What is your whole take?
Well, look, because the media really got bent out of shape saying that Matt Harvey flip-flopped and flipped the script. And in all honesty, it's not Matt Harvey that flipped the script. It's the Mets, because all year long they said that he'll have a pitch count and they're not going to push him and he's only going to do so much. And in the early part of the year, Harvey said that he would never wants to be taken out of the game, which he still said that. But now that the postseason is seeming more and more certain, then all of a sudden the Mets are like, well, he'll pitch in the playoffs. Well, no. That's not what you've been saying all year long. I understand why you changed your mind. I understand why you're saying a different tune, because in April, not even the most diehard Met fan believed that we'd be looking at this kind of opportunity now.
Right.
But so now Harvey's caught in the middle because he's got his agent and his surgeon saying that anything more than 180 innings, and you're going to be pushing yourself into possibly another injury. So He's got to keep those people happy. Yes, Scott Boras is his employee. I get that. But you also pay Boras to advise you in these situations. So, it sounded to me like he was trying to ride the fence. He said he never would want to be taken out. He never want to be have the ability to play taken away from him. But at the same time, he heeds the advice of Dr. Andrews and Boras. And he knew as soon as that interview was done, the crap storm that was going to fall, because he went right into Terry Collins' office right after.
Right.
Oh, hey, boss, I may have screwed up here. So, Harvey doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that, is all about him or anything like that. So I think he just had a kid that was trying to keep everybody happy and failed miserably. And so, it is what it is. I'm not trying to give the guy an out, but at the end of the day, these people making it seem like, oh my God, Harvey's the biggest piece of crap on the planet. Well, you know what? Not for nothing. Give the guy a break, because he was the only light for the last 3 seasons on this team. The only ray of hope. Yeah. So I wouldn't be trying to piss him off and run him out of town personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if it's trying to run him out of town, but I just think that, obviously, knowing how fans feel, they're going to feel, spited by this whole situation where, okay, well, there he is, doesn't want to be the diehard, and media's going to do their thing. They're going to blow it up, like you said. If they do, they're stupid. Any fan that is fired up about this is stupid and playing into the media's, what's the word I'm looking for? They're using a blowtorch on a propane tank, pretty much. And they're making something out of nothing. And if you're a fan and you're that bent out of shape, okay, well, you know what? Harvey always, if you read the quotes and you listened to Harvey's actual words, Harvey said he would always want to pitch. What more do you want the guy to say in that situation? Well, yeah, you know what I mean. But then when you hear him, backing off it a little bit, you know what I mean. That's going to scare a lot of people. Yeah. I'm not worried. He'll be there. You're not worried? I'm not worried. But you know what? The Mets should, and I did read a piece, I think it was the article that you linked to, that said the Mets should just make him a 7th inning or 8th inning specialist. Or so, we've had the Mets. How do you feel about that? To get us into the playoffs, let it happen. We've got enough arms, dude. Yeah, man. You could have a rotation of Syndergaard, DeGrom, Matz, Neese, and I'm forgetting about one. Now, Colon, Bartolo Colon. Silly me. How the hell could I forget about Bartolo Colon? You threw a damn shutout the other night. He's doing it again tonight. Look at that. So, he's at one point he's up to 27 scoreless innings, the most all time for a pitcher over 40. So they eventually got that game in. What game in? The Mets game. Oh, tonight because of the rain. Yeah, they started at 9 o'clock. Yeah, Kevin Pilecki ended up tweeting out a video of it flooding through the stairwell.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's why
At the ballpark.
that's why Atlanta's getting a new stadium, because that kind of crap is happening.
Yeah, and they're kind of building their way towards it. And like we were talking earlier, there's a bunch of teams between, the Red Sox. They're looking to do some changes. Same thing with Seattle. The Angels. They're looking for a GM at the moment. The Brewers. Cincinnati. They're going to be looking for something too. You can almost figure, well, Jockey's going to be about on his way out. And figuring out what's going to be happening with the Baltimore Orioles. You got all these teams out here. They're going to be looking to make changes, and it seemed like hiring a guy like John Hart seemed like a good deal, at least for the Braves. So maybe a little bit contention down the line here within your own division, but the Central Division. I mean, the NL Central has been obviously one of the best divisions of all baseball history. When it comes down to the fact that you have three teams that are all competing at such an incredibly high level. Between the Pirates and the Cardinals, they were going back and forth, trying to figure out who's going to win 100 games. We talked last week with Danny Nobler about that. But when it comes down to it, you kind of look at the Cardinals. They're struggling big time right now. And when you're in the Cubs position, yeah, sure, you're trying to get that home game. Okay, so you still have a little. At least a little bit of a jump in terms of winning the division and getting that home game, but you want to get that at least that first wild card. What Pittsburgh's been doing has been nonstop. I mean that is a team where even still I had some doubts in my mind. I guess maybe it's because I've been trained. My brain's been trained to this point to not expect the Pirates to be much good. I guess,
Right.
but. No. There's always that little bit of fear that they're going to fall off, and that's all just kind of a sham. And they've been a real team for the last 3-4 years now, and they're making a serious run at the Cardinals. And this is a team that hasn't had a bad stretch, pretty much throughout the entire season. And now all of a sudden it seems like the Cardinals are hitting a wall here. Is this something where? Where you kind of lose a little bit of steam? Do you think the Pirates are going to take over? And if you're the Chicago Cubs, I mean, would you rather face the Cardinals in a 1-game series, or knowing that they're probably better in a longer series, in terms of the Cardinals, or would you rather face Pittsburgh, who's going to throw Garrett Cole at you, and then who knows what the hell's going to go on? I mean, it seems like if I were the Cubs, I'd much rather take the Cardinals in a short series in a 1-game play-in rather than Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
it's a tough call.
It's a tough call because St. Louis may not be playing well right now, but let's not take anything away from the fact that they have won 88 games so far this season, and Pittsburgh's not far behind with 83. So I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody, but they've outscored their opponents by 111 runs. The Pirates, 83. I mean, it doesn't. You look at 100-something games, you think, well, that's not that big of a difference, but it is. It is. You can't take anything away from the Cardinals. The Pirates, I think, have a little bit more of a potent lineup. So I would rather take my chances with the Cardinals just because they're not going to score as many runs, in my opinion.
Right. You know what I mean? There's a lot more dangerous hitters, with that Pittsburgh team, and they brought a guy like a Ramos Ramirez where. He basically said that, he was going to be retiring, 37 years old. He's going home back to Pittsburgh. And here he is having they acquired him on July 23rd and guess played 18 years in the big leagues, 25 RBIs in his first 33 games with a 248 batting average for the Pirates. I mean, what a great pickup that, and they have that's one of those guys where, he brings that spark. In terms of offensively, what he's going to be able to do, and when you look long-term series with the Pirates, now they're getting AJ Burnett. He came back today, obviously pitching relatively well, feels all right, and that's something that can help them in a long-term series. Knowing that, I mean, I would be more fearful as a Chicago Cub about what the Cardinals are going to be able to throw at you over the course of a series. Not only out of their starting rotation, but their bullpen too, and just knowing that they have the depth that they have. 1-game series, a lot easier to deal with. And, the good thing, for at least for the Cardinals at the moment, there's a right thigh muscle injury that Matt Holliday, it's kept him out of the lineup for quite some time now. Been on the DL since June 9th through June 17th, and then came back and July 30th, hit the DL again. When you get a big bat like that, bat in your lineup, hopefully he kind of hits stride. But I mean, that would seem like that'd be a big help, and kind of maybe the one thing for the Cubs that they at least have going on where they have that momentum, and you can talk about whether it's a real thing or a fake thing, whatever. But just knowing the way the team has just kind of pulled themselves together, in terms of Anthony Rizzo, he stepped up as a captain for you. And just seeing the way that Chris Bryant's performed, Kyle Schwarber, we talk about the Cubs all the damn time on this radio show, just because it's been something to watch this entire year. And I think a lot of people, are kind of regretting that I talked to, like, oh man, I didn't realize the Cubs were this good. I should have been watching all year. Yeah, well, I mean, nobody had expected them to be this good, but it just kind of came about because of the fact that, you bring a big-time manager in there, who's kind of used to that situation with dealing with a lot of young guys. He's got everybody playing comfortable, everybody playing loose, and the one thing that he's, been trying to remind these players, especially all the younger guys, it's getting to be crunch time, and, you want to be, at the top of your game and be as focused and aware as you possibly can be. But, just keep doing what you've been doing to this point. There's nothing to be changed.
Right.
When he won these many games. So it's kind of keeping that in focus, especially guys for Addison Russell and for, Starlin Castro's kind of been there for a minute, but for him, Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, these are all guys, this is their first lick, and especially for, not having been used to playing these many games and playing this late into the season. It's a big difference for these guys, but somehow, we'll see if you can kind of keep them, ebb and flow here, when it runs into the postseason. But it seems like they're pretty much well set. So we'll get into that maybe a little bit later on in the show, talk about the Cubs, because we like talking about the Cubs. And the Giants, they're dealing with some issues. Brandon Crawford, he left the game the other night with a left calf, left side tightness. And that's going to be a big blow for them. That's one of those younger guys where he's been around for a while, hometown guy, or at least homegrown guy, able to bring him in here. And I don't know, it seems like he's finally developed into that steady ball player, and now you lose him too. There's a lot of issues for the San Francisco Giants, but if you have a lot of issues with your fantasy team, give us a call right now. When we come back from break, we're bringing on our guy, Jim Sarentius, the Fantasy Greek of thefantasygreek.com. We're going to talk to him about all your stardom, your sit-ems. What are you going to do with your fantasy team? He's going to give you, your answers right here, live on the air, 585-633-7487. Give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio, and also check us out, Facebook, Johnny Bobbo Show.
Story goes and pisses him off. Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Man, no, enter the fantasy man, Jim Sarantias of thefantasygreek.com. You are the fantasy Greek, Mr. Jim Sarantias. How are you doing this evening?
You know, Johnny, I'm doing okay. Just, getting into the first game of the season here, Patriots-Steelers. It's a pretty amazing game on a bunch of different levels. Rob Gronkowski just scored his third TD of the game. 27-14 Patriots, and I'm just wondering to myself, where's the Steelers passing game?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, you're gonna miss a little bit with Bryant not there, but I mean, they have been doing everything they could to cover up Antonio Bryant to this point, haven't they?
They're making plays. I personally, I think the problem with the Steelers is they're not executing their offense. I don't think this is the Patriots' defense. We're just not seeing the kinds of defensive plays that make you go, oh, that's a really great defensive play. We're just seeing miscues. And I think another problem here is they haven't really worked in their other receivers. Darius Hayward-Bay had one great catch. Marcus Wheaton had two great catches. He almost made a third. And, they're just not going to these guys. Now, on the other hand, D'Angelo Williams is just kicking butt. I mean, here's a guy 34 years old who last year with the Panthers looked like a plodding, just, I hate saying it, has been a guy that's career is done. And now he shows up with the Steelers and behind a new offensive line. He's not catching any footballs out of the backfield. He's running everything, and he's run for over 100 rushing yards, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised, at least to see how effective Tom Brady was, knowing that he was going to be on the field week 1. And I know you had him ninth on your board, I believe. That came out just today. But looking at it, you figure, okay, he likes to just step up in those big games, but you kind of figure there might be a little bit of slack, considering the fact that, maybe everybody was anticipating this, the 4-game suspension. Obviously, everybody seemed to be in line. I mean, what is him returning, Tom Brady being here for the, since week 1, do for the fact, for at least Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman, and Danny Amendola? I mean, isn't that great for fantasy owners?
Of course. And, if you look at this game, it's not so much Tom Brady. I mean, he's just tossing up little volleys to Rob Gronkowski. And the Steelers have a smaller defensive back covering them the entire time. And until the NFL learns how to cover 6'5", 6'8" tight ends like Gronkowski with sort of an equally athletic type of player, similarly sized, I mean, he's going to rule the day all day. I don't even think Tom Brady would sit there and say, oh, yeah, I had just a terrific game. I think he would say, no, this is all Rob.
Oh, absolutely. And now that's kind of a situation where you're looking at with Philadelphia. They have a spot where Sam Bradford, this is a guy, you're not sure what you have. You're worried about him getting injured. It probably scared off a lot of fantasy owners, at least in that front. But then you see the success that he had in the preseason underneath that Chip Kelly system. How much confidence does it give fantasy owners where at least you feel you can get rid of the ball? Is that a guy that's worth starting right off the bat, even if you do have somebody that may be feasible in the background? Because a lot of people probably picked up even Tom Brady, assuming, letting him slide a little bit, that he's going to be out for 4 games. You know what I mean? So say you got Tom Brady there and Sam Bradford. Obviously a tough pick, but how do you think that all panned out?
Well, for this weekend, it panned out that Tom Brady was the player to play, and Sam Bradford would have been the second choice. But it would have been a close call, and I don't think you would have gone wrong in either case, which is actually the sign of a great fantasy football team, when you can make make a wrong decision and actually everything's fine. Sam Bradford, God bless him, he's getting a second chance there with the Eagles, and he's already showing that he understands their offense, he can execute their offense, and they can keep him safe, it looks like. So, for a guy that went 10 for 10 against the first unit of the Packers, threw for 100, I think it was 29 yards, something like that, and 3 TDs. I mean, that's just outstanding. This weekend, he makes for a great play going up against the Falcons, and you should start him with confidence this weekend.
Yeah, and now seeing, initially how, ineffective Larry Fitzgerald had kind of seemed, in the beginning of at least a lot of the preseason, it seems like, he's not the same guy that he used to be. Is this an opportunity for John Brown to step up with the Arizona Cardinals here? Do you think this is going to be a big year for him?
Well, it definitely is an opportunity for him to step up. I think it'll be a better year than last year. I don't feel that it has as much to do with Larry Fitzgerald as it has to do with the individual talent of John Brown. I mean, he's just a complete speedster. When it boils down to it, Larry Fitzgerald is still one of the best receivers in the league. Carson Palmer's a lucky guy that he has 3 good receivers in his back pocket that he could go to. This weekend will be telling in terms of how the offense rolls out. right now I do like Larry Fitzgerald as sort of a low wide receiver 3. John Brown is more of a flex play, and Michael Floyd sort of, let's wait and see what's going on with him. See how he's coming back from his hand injury, which he had to have surgery for a month ago. But I wouldn't rule out Larry Fitzgerald. I think it's way too early in the season because he's still a really great wide receiver.
Right. And now, when you're looking at, what the Cowboys have put together, obviously fantastic, offensive line. Having Joseph Randle there, it seemed like everybody was pretty high on him, at least in the beginning of the season, knowing that Murray's gone. What are the Cowboys going to do? Whoever you put back there is going to be fine. But then when you think about the fact that, Lance Dunbar, he's still around, then you bring in the trade acquisition of Christy Michael, and then Darren McFadden's looked pretty great during the preseason. What does that do for Joseph Randle's fantasy stock?
Well, it definitely decreases it. I mean, if you're somebody that drafted him as an RB2, I think you want the Dallas Cowboys to apologize to you because of just sort of the nonsense in terms of the news that rolled out of camp. At some point in the past a month, there were indications that, Joseph Randle gets 20 touches, then Darren McFadden 15, and Dunbar 10 or 5 to 10, and everything seemed to be in play that Joseph Randle would sort of rule the day in the backfield. Now, since then, it's sort of gone back and forth who the starter's going to be. Even though, McFadden might start or Randle might start, so-and-so is going to get his share, and, we will probably go with the hot hand instead of just picking one running back and rolling with it. And, me personally, and I agree with you, I think your observation that McFadden has had a good preseason really just speaks volumes. He seems to be seeing the field better than Joseph Randle right now. Certainly the kinds of holes that they're opening up for McFadden, he seems to be running through them much better than Joseph Randle. And I feel McFadden's the better of the two as a starting running back. Joseph Randle has never really been a starter in the NFL. He's always been the backup. He seems to be better suited for that. So why not just call it what it is and let McFadden lead the way until you just have no confidence in him? Right.
And now when you're kind of looking at some of the waiver wire situations, I mean, if you say you drafted a guy, much like your article there on the Fantasy Greek, and again, any questions, tweet at the Fantasy Greek, hashtag it, ask TFG. So say you have an issue where you drafted LaShawn McCoy or Trey Mason, and in terms of what you have depth-wise, there's not much. What are you going to do in that situation?
Let's see. Well, LaShawn McCoy is on track to start this weekend. Trey Mason's a different story. I think he might have practiced the other day. I don't know if he got a full one in, or maybe it was today. Mm-hmm. If for some reason, right now, both are good starts this weekend as long as they play. And if for some reason, let's say Trey Mason doesn't, hopefully you have a backup, a Tevin Coleman, TJ Yeldon, maybe an Amir Abdullah if you got lucky to get in there. Otherwise, hit the waiver wire and go get Benny Cunningham, because if Benny Cunningham gets the start and he ends up being, the primary ball carrier because they've got no one else in terms of depth, he'll be a 3-down back and he should be able to produce something for you in terms of fantasy.
Yeah, and now even when it comes down to receivers, a lot of people went high on Devontae Adams. That's a guy out there, or at least people expected him to take a step up. You know what I mean? With the fact with Nelson out, Cobb has his injury. Bringing a guy like James Jones, does that make much sense? I mean, how effective is James Jones going to be, and what does his effect have of him signing there? Have at least for Devontae Adams draft stock?
I don't think that it has anything to do with Devontae Adams per se. It certainly says a lot about the depth behind Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams for Jeff Janis, Ty Montgomery. The Packers must not have had faith in them when it came right down to it. And as soon as Jones became available, said, "Come on, fly on out, and let's talk about doing a deal." If the offense hasn't changed much, James Jones should be able to walk right into the game this coming weekend. He's certainly a worthwhile add. With a consideration is a flex play and possibly moving up into a wide receiver 3, depending how they use him. But as far as Davante Adams is concerned, just treat him as he was drafted, as sort of a mid to low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3, and let's see how things pan out. If all holds true this weekend in terms of the history of the Packers and the Bears, Davante Adams should have a big game.
Yeah, and when you're looking at, again, some of these receivers kind of dealing with some injuries, you got a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, hasn't practiced much of a lick. He got in the other day, but he's kind of dealt with his calf injury for some time now. There's been some speculation. It's been a lot about him at least posturing and trying to get his new contract done. But what do you feel about that, at least for Alshon Jeffrey? Should fantasy owners feel confident and throw him in this ball game, against the Green Bay Packers? Or do you feel it's maybe a guy where you just got to keep an eye on it injury-wise and see if he's going to play?
Well, I definitely think you have to keep an eye on it injury-wise. I mean, indications are he's practicing. I forget the reporter for the Bears who tweeted and indicated that based on his observations, Jeffrey looked fine.
Okay.
So it's difficult for me to sit here and say, other than to say, Alshon Jeffrey is earmarked to play. Get him in your lineup. He should have a substantial role in this game. If something changes, then you'll have to go to your reserves.
Okay, and kind of keeping on injuries, what's the deal with RG3? Is he playing this week, or do you think that concussion is going to keep him out?
Well, I don't think it matters. I think he's out. Kirk Cousins is the quarterback of the Washington Redskins until further notice.
Yeah, you got it. And same thing with Randall Cobb. Do you expect him to play in that ball game? It seems like he seems to be lined up and healthy enough to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they made it pretty clear once it was a sprain that they expected him to play. He expects to play. Will it limit him some? Possibly. But nothing. There's no reports or anything to indicate that it will. So I would play him with full confidence, unless something bizarre happens sort of at the last minute. But right now, that would be a complete surprise.
Yeah, you got it. And I was kind of mentioning earlier about how the fantasy guide it's something that you can use in terms of drafting your team, but in terms of kind of analyzing some of the matchups over the the upcoming weeks here. That's something that can take you through, an entire season where it's constantly referred to it, kind of see where their advantages are. Tell me a little bit about, at least, kind of how you put that thing together and where we can find that and just, again, why people still need it. I mean, it's not just a draft guide. That's even for the day-to-day drafting stuff, the week-to-week stuff. How important is that draft guide?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, first of all, it's a great value at $9.50. And for that, you get a free Skybox subscription to the private portion of our site, which is a $17.99 value. So right there, you get a nice little savings and bonus. What I end up doing with my top 200 is I hang on to those as the season progresses, because it gives you an idea in terms of how players are going based on what our projections were and what our expectations were. And you could also use it just simply to evaluate trades, whether you're packaging a quarterback 1 and an RB2 and going for a quarterback 2 and an RB1, or maybe a quarterback 2 and an RB3. You can immediately start doing those sorts of things, which I think is a value. And that's why I consider these to sort of be reference guides throughout the season.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think you have it's probably a good time to pick up those trophies, right? You got a good deal going on those things, the 3-pack?
Yeah. Just come on out to thefantasygreek.com. On the right side, you'll see a link both to the draft guide as well as we have a set of trophies for sale on Amazon.com. I think they're going for roughly a little over $100. And I can tell you right now, based on my research, that's a great deal because I found one of those babies for 3/4 of that price. So, I think it's a nice way to sort of put a nice quality league together and have a nice quality, memorabilia of your achievements. Should you finish in first, second, or third, which our producer Keith Grieve seems to do all the time, except in leagues that he and I play in together.
Except in your leagues. I get my butt handed to me in your leagues. Especially when I don't show up to the draft.
Yeah, that doesn't do well.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of intelligent guys there, at least in that front. I mean, you have a lot of knowledgeable people, that help put all this together. But one of the things you do every Wednesday night, you bring up, your power hour of the fantasy business. Tell me, who are some of the guys that are must-sits when it comes into this? Because we kind of talked about some of the guys that you have to start. When it comes down to sitting guys, who are your main picks for this week where either it's just a bad matchup or an injury or something where, whoever's listening right now, they got to know this guy is not playing for your fantasy team this week?
Sure. At quarterback, Keith, pay attention to this. You need to sit Jay Cutler against the Packers. Historically, he has played against them terribly, throws interceptions. I don't know what they do, but they just can get under his skin. I don't like Colin Kaepernick against the Vikings. I think the Vikings have an exceptional defense, and they'll find a way to shut him down. And I'm also shying away from Cam Newton. And I go in between on that only because, he can obviously run the football. But in that offense, how one-dimensional it's become, I would like to see a little bit of tape on him in this new offense and see how he does. For running backs, Frank Gore is going to be on a pitch count this weekend, so I have him as a borderline RB2, and I think players that are a full go you might want to consider ahead of Frank Gore, such as a Doug Martin or a TJ Yeldon or a Tevin Coleman. Another guy who just has a tough matchup is Alfred Blue. I think this is a tough week for him. For wide receivers, Roddy White against the Eagles, and it's not that I don't like the matchup. I just am concerned about Roddy White's health. I'm concerned about his role. I mean, he could easily, put up 70 yards, or he could put up 70 yards in a TD. It's just really hard to say. We know that their offense will lean on Julio Jones, and I really like Leonard Hankerson, and I'm curious to see if he might overtake Roddy White this weekend. I don't like Pierre Garçon against the Dolphins, and I kind of don't like Torrey Smith against the Vikings for the same things I said about Colin Kaepernick, as well as the fact Torrey Smith could end up being a one-trick pony, and what I mean by that is the only time he will get you fantasy points is if they throw the deep bomb and he actually catches it. So I'm hesitant in starting him in fantasy. I think there's just a bunch more players that you can consider to play this weekend. In terms of tight ends, Owen Daniels for me is a tough play just because we don't know how the allocation is going to be between him and Virgil Green. And certainly I don't like the Colts tight ends this weekend because the Bills were number one against tight ends in fantasy last season. And for defenses, the number one defense to sit is the Ravens against the Broncos. Look, you can sit here and tell me that Peyton Manning is going to be a terrible quarterback this year in fantasy. He's not going to have the same arm. He won't throw for more than 40 TDs. And that's fine when it comes to playing defenses, because the bottom line with Peyton Manning is he's number one at protecting the football. Bench the Ravens.
Ooh, bench those Ravens. And that's what I did in our league. That happens. I picked up a defense. I shocked everybody last minute, picked up a new defense, flopped them out in our league.
Shock is pushing it.
Shocked?
Shocked is pushing it. I don't know if anybody was really shocked by it.
Well, they were shocked. No one's like, oh, man, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He missed a draft. He auto-drafted that thing. He doesn't know what's going on. I'm telling you. I'm going to put up a fight in that league. I promise.
I'm going to win that league with Robert Turbin on my roster.
That's all right. That's all right. And the one thing, before we let you go, again, we're talking to Jim Sarantias of thefantasygreek.com. Find him at thefantasygreek on Twitter. Hashtag it, AskTFG. Answer all your questions. I'm telling you, man, one after another. But when it comes down to it, man, Jay Cutler, okay, you mentioned him in the issues with the interceptions, the INTs. With this new offensive scheme, do you not feel maybe at least a little bit more safe with him? I mean, am I just stuck clearly Keith, even though he's in New York, he's a Chicago Bears homer all day. But when it comes down to it, man, you think about, him being in a different system, hopefully, it's more conducive to his style of play. Is this a guy where maybe you should let up a little bit? Do you think he's going to succeed this year, or do you think it's going to be again another typical Jay Cutler year? Is anything going to change? Is what I'm trying to get to.
Well, I think that's hard to say, and here's why. And why your expectation should be that it'll be more of the same. Two reasons. The first one is we just haven't seen anything yet to build any confidence that things are different. Jay Cutler has not had the greatest of preseasons, and we're not seeing just, oh my God, this looks like a completely different offense, and Jay's doing terrific. That's number one. And number two is every year people say, oh, Jay Cutler, this is Jay Cutler's year. This is Jay Cutler's year. The last time he had that year, he was with the Denver Broncos. So if you want to continue believing that it's going to be his year, that's fine. It could happen. But everything points to it won't.
See, and the only thing that makes you feel at least a little bit better or confident in him is the fact that John Fox, he's a big running back guy, man. He's all about just shoving up your face. And that's something we've never seen before. Mark Trestman, he talked about doing it. Lovie Smith, he was talking about running off the bus, man, getting off the bus running. All right, well, that's all fine and dandy until you actually do it. And that was something we never seen, and that's John Fox's tendency. That's right. That's where he's going. Always a big running back guy. So that gives me maybe a little bit of hope that things might work out a little bit better here in Chicago.
How about this? For all of the chaos that was last year, Jay Cutler still completed 66% of his passes, 5% higher than his career average. He threw 28 touchdowns, 3,800 yards, threw 18 interceptions, and his interception percentage was lower than his career average. For everybody that was looking for some kind of ray of hope that maybe it won't be so bad.
God, and we're all going to get fooled, aren't we, Jim?
You know what? That just doesn't get it done in the modern day NFL.
Well, because they didn't run the ball last year. We've been through this before. We're not going to open this box again.
Matt Forte had a terrific season. Had 100 receptions, put up 1,500 all-purpose yards. So whether he ran or he caught the ball in the air and ran for it doesn't matter. They got a ton of production out of the running back. They just didn't get the production they needed out of their quarterback passing the football.
Defensively, though, it's a different kind of defense when you're defending a short pass versus a run.
Okay, fine. But if you want to talk about the defense, we still haven't seen whether it's going to remotely be different from last year. Vic Fangio, for example, has had a tremendously good history against Aaron Rodgers, but I think even Vic Fangio would say it's not because of me, it's because of the players I had on the field at the time to run the scheme that I wanted to run. I don't think he's got the right personnel in place, and this weekend should be a lopsided victory for the Packers.
Yep.
That was awesome. And that's the one thing I'm scared about for Green Bay fans.
And to the listeners out there, I hate saying that. I'm not saying this because I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. I actually am a Bears fan, but it's just hard not to wrap yourself around these numbers. I mean, I'll root for the team, but I just kind of if they beat the Packers, that would be the biggest Week 1 upset.
Well, let me tell you something. Even if they don't beat the Packers, if they play them tight, that is the biggest indictment against Mel Tucker and that chaos that he called defense last year.
That's true. That's absolutely
because it's not that the personnel isn't that different. It's a lot of the same faces minus Tim Jennings and the safety pile of crap that they had back there. But if this team plays Aaron Rodgers tight and doesn't give up a 50 burger like they did last year, then you know what, Mel Tucker should just go find a new line of work.
Yeah, no, and I'm thinking I'm thinking about Green Bay if they're stout enough up the middle defensively to handle the run. Knowing that Fox is going to focus on that. You think so?
They were atrocious last year against the run.
That's
Absolutely
my point.
Atrocious.
Jim, you clue us in right here, man. What is the deal? Are the running backs? Is the run game of the Chicago Bears going to bring down the Green Bay Packers in Week 1 and be the big upset?
It could, and if that offensive line does its job, it certainly could.
Man, and that's our guy, Jim Sarantis, the Fantasy Greek. Check him out at the Fantasy Greek on Twitter. Hashtag him with all your questions. Ask TFG, because he's our man, and that's how we do it around here. This is a Johnny Bobbo show on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
Chicago Bears. Yeah.
See, I want you till so far away. I know it can't be long. Can't walk away from the things you say, the things you say. Yeah, the price you pay, the price you pay for them. Can't walk away from the things you say, the things you say. Yeah, the price you pay for them. No, no, no. Can't walk away from the things you say, the things you say. Yeah, the price you pay for them. Can't walk away from the things you say.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
To the Johnnie Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio.
That was rocking. I like that intro.
That's how we do it here on the Johnnie Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio. We're bringing our guy, Cody Van Cura, the host and the man of Cody's Q with a T on Facebook, also known as Tired Francois. How are you doing this evening? Are you cleaning poop right now, Cody? What the hell are you doing, sir?
cleaning up tea.
Oh, man, that is brutal. I hope you're not doing this on the air right now.
Yes, no, I'm not.
Oh, thank baby Jesus. How you doing aside from that tonight? Was your night going well up until the cleaning the pee and the poo point?
Yeah, we were just having board game night. It's pretty tight.
Board game night? What kind of board games are you playing?
Settlers of Catan.
Wait, what?
Settlers of Catan. It's like Monopoly, but worse.
Is this? Are you familiar with this game, Keith, or is this something that Cody and his little friends made up?
Anything more than Risk, I'm out of my realm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good, Cody. Did you guys make this game? Is this a real game? Can I buy it?
You can buy it from Target. Don't go to Walmart. Walmart doesn't sell it. You have to go to Target.
Oh, see? Yeah. Well, Walmart's got their own thing going on, but we have our own thing going on, and that's why we bring you on, dude. Tell me a little bit about, we're bringing on a band tonight, man. Sleepwalk?
Yeah, dude, it's my dudes. It's the same kids from Forfeit, and
Okay.
it's their shoegaze project.
Oh, sweet. All right. And so what's the difference between Forfeit and Sleepwalk?
Forfeit's more of emo, and Sleepwalk shoegaze.
All right. Well, how would you describe it? How would you differentiate the two bands, or the two genres, I should say, for the standard fan that doesn't know any better?
Emo is more, rock and, offshooter punk, when shoegaze is more like melodic rock, you could say.
Okay. No, I get you on that. So, like, when you say shoegaze, I'm imagining like the little doofy emo kid with his head tucked, his chin tucked into his chest like this, and he's staring at his shoes and just kind of swaying side to side. Is that what we're talking about when we're talking about shoegazing?
Yeah, talking like My Bloody Valentine, Low.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got you, man. All
Yeah,
right.
Low has a new album coming out tomorrow, too, so that's cool.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Tell me, apparently Sleepwalk, they're doing a thing now. Alex and Ryan, like I said, that their other band, Forfeit, they were just featured in a project in the Chicago Reader.
Yeah, they played Emo Night tonight. And,
Awesome.
Emo Night. It's a bunch of emo bands, and the dude from Academy is DJing after, and then the guy from Parade is DJing after him.
That is awesome, man. That's a pretty serious deal right there.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, Emo Night started a few months ago, and it's, like, really getting big now.
Okay. All right, well, that's awesome, man. Well, let's hear a little bit from Sleepwalk. What's the song we're about to play here, guys?
You're asking us what the song is?
Yeah, sure. What you got for me, Keith?
It's Hemlock. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, but I didn't write it down.
Okay. Would you like me to just play the song?
Most certainly. This is a sweet ass ditty from Sleepwalk called Hemlock with a heavy kick. let me tell you. And that was the business. A Sleepwalk. And you can check them out at Bandcamp, Sleepwalk Chicago. Check them out right there. But I got to tell you, Cody, man, that's one of those bands. Again, you said My Bloody Valentine. Absolutely reminded me a lot of that whole sound. For those who don't know, they're, I guess you can classify them as alternative rock. But they came from Dublin, Ireland, kind of started off in 1983. And then in 87, it had, a consistent group of guys that had been in the band. And, they're still touring. They reunited. I believe it was like 2007, something like that. But yeah, no, they've had a few guys come in and out, but I mean, I absolutely love that sound, and that's something where we're hearing a little bit about that going into this weekend for at least for me and for you. I'm not sure what time we're gonna get down there tomorrow, but Riot Fest is happening in Chicago, and one of the big bands that I'm looking to check out, man, Swerve Driver. They're playing. And it's a band that came out with a new album just recently, this past year here, and it seemed like they maybe gave it a little bit more of an attempt, maybe not so much as trying to be something that's gonna, I guess hit it big or this or that, but they've been around for about at least 17 years, man, and now kind of have their own thing going on. They're leading things off on my schedule for Saturday at 1:30. I'm gonna catch Swerve Driver. I mean, is that on your list of bands to see, Cody?
Yeah, man, it's funny because I love Swerve Driver, but anytime I see their name, I see Screwdriver. And I don't know if you're familiar with Screwdriver, but like that always confuses me. So when I first saw the Ride Fest on it, I'm like, why the hell is Screwdriver playing? If you don't know Screwdriver, it's a Nazi punk band.
Yeah, no, definitely not. completely different sound. But no, I
Yeah,
can see how
definitely.
No, I can totally see I can get confused with that. But no, they do a really great job, Sleepwalk that is, of at least emulating that whole sound and capturing that whole like early '80s sound that was
Yeah.
going out the whole thing business. And no, I thoroughly enjoy that band. We got to bring them on again.
For sure. Yeah,
So-
they're great.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And now tell me a little bit about, we got a bunch of albums coming out this year, man. There's all sorts of things happening. At least with bands that are still going to put stuff out there. You have, Radiohead. They got a thing coming out. Kanye West. Let's see, Adele, Grimes. I mean, these are all pretty big names here, man, and they're coming out with albums. Tell me how you feel about some of that stuff. Well, what's the biggest album that you're, at least looking forward to that's going to be coming out in the rest of the season here?
Like you mentioned, I don't think Kanye's ever put out a bad album, and every album he just gets better and better. So I'm really excited to hear that.
Yeah, and what about Janet Jackson? I mean, this lady,
Not
she doesn't come out
into
with
it.
anything. Not into it? Not Janet?
Not-
Are you kidding me?
Not Janet, dude.
You don't even want to
I
give
think-
it a ride for a second?
Yeah, I'll check it out, but it's not something that I could see myself continuously listening to.
Okay. And how about at least Radiohead? For me, that's a band. Where,
I know you love them, and I love Phil Selway solo. I love Johnny Greenwood solo. I do not like Tom York. I think if Tom York was not on that band, they'd probably be my favorite band. And I'm happy that they're still doing stuff because another band that's been around for so long. And I'm glad Phil and Johnny are still making millions and millions of dollars, but I can't get into the pretentious nature of Tom and his voice.
well, that's kind of sad.
Hail to the Thief is a solid album, though. I'll give it that. If the new album sounds anything like Hail to the Thief, I'll give it a listen.
Okay, well, how about Waves? They're another band, just like Janet. She got her album coming out on October 2nd. Same thing with Waves. Their 5th album. Are you familiar at least with Waves?
Yeah,
and
actually,
their
I saw Waves last year. I thought.
Okay, and what'd you think? At least a live, a good live act.
Yeah, they're really fun. That's another band where the singer comes off as a jerk. During their set, someone threw a banana and he made a huge fit about it. So, I mean, I do enjoy what Waves are doing. Their sound's great. I love garage rock, but it's, I'm gonna check that out too. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna put it in heavy rotation though.
Yeah, and what you have a problem with people throwing bananas on stage or what, man? I don't think I've ever have had an issue with somebody throwing a banana at you.
If someone threw a banana at me, I'd laugh it off. I wouldn't stop the song to complain about it.
There's so many.
Well, that's
different
good.
ways. There's so many different ways you can go with that. Just saying.
Oh yeah, that's what I put out there. and speaking about going other ways, man, the album cover for the Dead Weather's new album, Dodge and Burn, is effing awesome. The color schemes of it all, and anything that Jack White puts together seems to be gold. I mean, how do you feel about Jack White? And are you at least excited about the Dead Weather coming out with a new album? It's been a minute.
I am really excited about that. I love Jack White. I did not like the Rocketeurs. That's the one project where I couldn't get behind. But
Really?
everything else he's
Why
done,
not?
I love. He's great.
And what didn't you like about his other side project?
I just couldn't get into it. I mean, it came out when I was pretty sure I was in 8th grade, and I wasn't really into that music at the time. It was such a switch from, White Stripes. But looking back, if I listened to it, I might be into it because I love the Dead Weather. I love Jack White solo, so the new album's going to be really cool.
Well, how about your guy Drake? Views from the 6. Tell me a little bit about that. Are you excited about the new Drake album? That's according to consequenceofsound.net. Awesome website if you're looking for music news. Check them out there. But tell me a little bit about that, man. I know you're a big Drake, the hype man. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that Drake took like the violence out of hip hop and put like he's doing emo rap, and it's great. I hope on this album he gets even more emotional and sad.
That works. But speaking of emotional and sad, in November, Adele, new album called 25. First album, 21. Everybody loved it. It was all about, her whole breakup thing with, rolling to the deep. Rumor has it, set fire to the rain, and ended up coming up with the whole song for the James Bond dealio. How do you feel about that, Adele? New album? Are you excited about that? Do you care about Adele at all?
We're going to have to see how well it does, because she's going to be in a really tricky situation, having such a huge album, not releasing one for so long, and then coming back.
Yeah, and now, okay, last thing before we let you go here, Cody. Apparently, number one, Frank Ocean, Boys Don't Cry. They're figuring out when it's going to come out. It's going to come out sometime in the fall here from Def Jam Records. Are you familiar with this Mr. Frank Ocean?
Yes, yeah, it's really funny because he hasn't put out new music in so long. It was like a few weeks ago or like a month ago. I don't know if you heard about this. He put old songs on Spotify under a new album title, just getting people excited, and then they go click on it. All old songs.
That's cool. He's been around with it a little bit now.
I mean, he's the new Guns N' Roses right now. It's taking them so long to put an album out.
They're actually getting back together, man. He's gonna have to wait like 20-something years. But tell me, Frank Ocean, man, what's this all about? Obviously, R&B guys. Is it more rap or is it actually rhythm and blues? What's happening here?
It's R&B. I don't know if you're familiar with Odd Future, but he was part of that group for a while. He's still really close with all those guys. So it'll be cool to see if, like, Tyler, Earl, or any of them, like, pop up on the new album.
Yeah. Well, man, that's what we bring in. Our guy, Cody Vancura of Cody's Q. You can find him on Facebook at Cody's Q, or you can check him out also on Facebook at Tired Francois. If you know French, you can type that in pretty easily and find our guy Cody Vancura there. Thank you so much, Cody, and I will most certainly be seeing you this weekend at Riot Fest.
See you this weekend, buddy.
You got it, brother, man. Take care of yourself. Be good.
Have a good night.
See you, Cody.
Sudial. And that's our guy, Cody Vancura. He's going to wrestle with his phone before he turns it off. But, Keith, it's you and me here, sir, for the remainder of the show. We only got several minutes here left.
Can I talk about that song for a second?
Talk about it.
Like, I remember back in the 80s, like my mom and dad have a bad history of, like, any infomercial that they come across, they buy it. We had the Stair Climber Plus that Bruce Jenner was selling in the 90s. We had that in my house. I got
a YouTube video for them, and
yeah, no, it's bad. It was all just junk products, but there was a big kick in the mid to late 80s with subliminal messages in these tapes that you would just play.
Okay.
And I remember my mother tried one of them about stopping procrastinating. And it was, all you heard was just seagulls and waves crashing. And you were supposed to, like, lay on your couch or your bed and just kind of close your eyes and just listen. And apparently there was all kinds of subliminal messages that were going to help you kick whatever issue it is that you wanted to kick. And that song just reminded me of one of those tapes.
And I'm sorry to hear that. Like, I guess.
Like,
go ahead.
My take on music is you either get it or you don't. You know what I mean? It either appeals to you.
Because it is art,
or it
doesn't.
I mean? Yeah, it's totally subjective.
Yeah, no, and I know, and I'm pretty open, to just about any kind of genre. The one thing I really don't get into is like rap.
You just said you were upset that I didn't like it, so I don't know how open you are.
Well, no. I mean, I'm open to different styles of music, and just like I am like perspectives. You know what I mean? But
right.
I was disappointed because I figured, you have.
It's a good song. It's chill. I could see why the band was called Sleepwalk. I was ready to take a nap.
You're taking Bob's role right now. No, I enjoyed it, man.
If I was taking Bob's role, I'd call Cody all kinds of names and just be like disrespectful.
Pick on him for 20 minutes.
Yeah, before and after he left.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, but no, I'm big into that. I'm big into my Bloody Valentine. It wasn't something that I was initially turned on to. Kind of heard it, I was like, oh, it's just kind of noise. But no, you find the melodies, man. You find ways to groove to the shoegazing if you can kind of get yourself into it. And it might take a little bit of time to grow into it, I guess. But growing into this, sir, let me ask you before we jet here again. Johnny Bobbo Show. Check us out on Facebook. Give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio. Also at MALIORIS. That's my last name, and you can tweet me there. But when it came down to those San Antonio high school football team that leveled the backfield umpire, how did you feel about that whole situation? Because that was absolutely brutal. But eventually it came out that potentially, I guess, or I should say, allegedly, the referee was using racial slurs, so that may have sparked some of this.
Look, I am not in any way condoning any use of racial slurs by anyone at any time. But those kids, somebody saying something to you ain't the same as you snapping his neck. You know what I mean?
No, so, they blew his ass up.
No, they did.
Video, man.
And they're lucky that their futures weren't hampered by any kind of permanent physical damage to this cat.
Yeah.
But I think they should be banned from playing sports. I'm not saying the referee was right. If he indeed did make those comments, he needs to be fired and never allowed around children of any sort again. But they handled it wrong. They're young. They're impetuous. Young people make bad decisions all the time. Thank God nobody was permanently hurt physically.
Why don't you explain impetuous to all of our listeners? Because we all know that they don't know what the hell that means.
I'm sorry, impetuous. You will overreact.
There it is.
Quick to act without thinking.
Yeah, so. bring it in. Yeah, that's great, man. I mean, and I'm with you on that. But can I clarify something? When I saw that video, I'm pretty sure I saw a long, flowing head of hair that popped out from underneath his hat.
So what are you saying? That he had a mullet?
Well, no, it doesn't think he had a lot of hair stuffed underneath his hat. It's kind of a surprising thing. Guy got blown up, and all of a sudden his hair was like all over the place. Anyways, you can check that video out on the Johnny Bobbo Show Facebook page, because that's where we post things. Check it out there, Johnny Bobbo Show on Facebook. Give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio, also at MALIORIS, and that's my last name. That's my personal thing. You can check that out right there. I post pictures. Find me on Instagram, Facebook. Put that name up. You're going to find me. But most of all, I got to tell everybody, thank you so much for calling, tweeting all your questions, also emailing me your questions. Things for Jim when you want to fix your fantasy team. Jim Sarentias, thank you very much, sir, from thefantasygreek.com, coming on to help us all out with our fantasy world, because, for middle-aged men and men that are reaching their middle ages, that's very important that we have a great fantasy team. So we appreciate his help as always. And, EJ Christian, Ernest Christian, sorry he couldn't come on today. It's our author there. NGSCsports.com. Also runs the podcast, Earnestly Speaking. Well, thank you so much. Van Gura and his fantastic band, Sleepwalk. Check them out. Shoegazing, whether you like it or not, man, that's some money. Give it a little bit of listen there. Eventually it'll grow on you, man. That's good stuff right there. So maybe we'll see you at Riot Fest this weekend here in Chicago. This is the Johnny Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio. Thank you much. Be good.